What up, bro?
Is everybody in?
Is
Is everybody in?
What the fuck you mean by that, my boy?
I mean, the ceremony's about to begin, my boy.
Ceremony's about to begin?
Is it, though?
Is it?
Is it?
I think so.
I don't know. We're going to find out. We're going to see. We're on an escapade and adventure to see what's going to exactly go down today.
Hell yeah, my boy.
This is like road trip footage right here. Some B-side bullshit. You know how it is on the road, going down, cruising with a frown. Is it that time of the day with Dalty D, the cannibal? And what else? Give me some other aliases. Motherfucking Blow Me Ho, the guy over here.
Fucking Meatwood, bro.
Meatwood.
Nah, Feetwood.
Feetwood to my Meatwood.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to Entheofest 2022. All right. Welcome to Ann Arbor. Welcome to Michigan. Welcome to the Earth. Welcome to the universe. Thank you for being here. This is an important place to be, and I'm happy to see you all. I'm honored to be here with you all, and I'm honored to represent this great community in the Michigan Senate. Thank you. My name is Jeff Irwin, and I'm here because entheogenics have a long history of cultural and religious significance. They have true medical benefits that thousands of people are realizing and thousands more are going to realize in the future. And these are substances that are particularly unlikely to be abused and have a low propensity for abuse, a low negative impact on human health. And so when you look at that, when you come into a world and when you look at a legal system like we have here in the United States that makes substances like that strictly illegal, it makes you scratch your head and wonder why. It makes you wonder why. And that's why, as your state senator here in Ann Arbor, I've introduced Senate Bill 631. Senate Bill 631, if we pass it, will promise that no one will go to jail again for using a plant that opens their mind. So thank you for being here at Entheofest. Thank you for supporting that proposition. Thank you for being willing to roll up your sleeves and do the work necessary to spread that truth to our friends and our family and our neighbors. And I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things. First, I just want to let you know that this group here, the people who are here today, the people who are coming to Entheofest now, you're the leaders of this movement. And so the first thing I want to ask you to do is I want to ask you to make sure that this movement continues and grows in a way that serves our values of love and togetherness. We need to fight this fight, and we need to do it in a way that makes sure that when we legalize these substances, that they're done in a way that serves community and serves humans, and isn't done in a way that is, first commercial, right? You're the ones, you're here early, you're the ones who can shape that culture of how this movement develops. So I want to ask you to continue that. I want to ask you to hold on to those values. The second thing I want to ask you to do is I want to ask you to get way more political than you are right now. There's an old saying in politics that goes, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And when I scratch my head and I wonder why is it that entheogenic plants are strictly illegal? Why is it that people who are using these substances to cure themselves or to open their minds are going to jail? It's because we're not political. We're on the menu. What I need you to do is I need you to reach out to your city council people, your mayor, your judges, your state representatives, your state senators, and ask them, where do you stand? Do you think people should go to jail for using these substances? Do you support decriminalizing and legalizing entheogenic substances in Michigan? I want you to ask that question. Will you ask your legislators if they support legalizing entheogenic substances? Can I enlist you in this movement? Can I get you to take an action? When you leave this beautiful day, when you leave this beautiful diet, when you leave this celebration of these entheogens that you're here to show appreciation of and celebrate, I want you to remember my ask. That tomorrow, you pick up that phone, you open up your computer, you send that email, you make that phone call, and you get your legislators, your local leaders in the position of answering that question. Because that's where we are in this movement. We just legalized cannabis 4 years ago. That took a long time. That took a lot of these conversations. We've got a lot of conversations if we want to get to the truth. Because right now, the wool has been pulled over the public's eyes. You've got a whole bunch of conservative politicians in there who aren't seeing the truth, and they're only going to see it if you pull back that will, if you open their eyes, if you be the one that makes that call, that sends that email, that shows up at that town hall and asks the uncomfortable question that has to be asked. And that question is, do you think people should go to jail for using a plant that has medical benefits, religious and cultural significance, and a low propensity for abuse? So thank you for having me today. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being willing to take that action. And thanks for getting a little bit more political than you wanted to when you came to Entheofest today. Thank you.
And as somebody who actually has a chronic pain diagnosis myself, somebody who personally understands the inadequacy of most of those available treatment options, I'm honored to be able to contribute towards a better understanding of how to use these substances in a thoughtful and realistic way to help people manage that pain. So in this vein, I'm especially grateful to all of you and appreciative of the event organizers for all of the advocacy work that makes events like this possible and is changing policy both in Michigan and then throughout the country. It is incredibly important to understand how entheogens and psychedelics actually affect people medically, and going beyond that medical need. The work that you all are doing is essential. The work that you all are doing is essential to address the societal pain and suffering caused by the federal prohibition of these drugs. We all know that these are powerful medicines, and figuring out how to use them thoughtfully and with appropriate societal and interpersonal supports remains critical. So I personally don't believe that there's a one-size-fits-all solution to working with these medicines in a respectful and careful way. So let's figure it out together. We can draw from the collective experience of all the people here.
I'm wondering how many people have experience with someone suffering from substance use disorder, raise of hands. Yeah, a lot of us out there have known someone who's been impacted by substance use disorder, and less than a third of the people diagnosed are actually receiving treatment. So in grad school for public health, I conducted a survey about using psychedelics as a treatment for addiction recovery, and more than 23 million adults in the United States are afflicted, and recent and current studies have proven the efficaciousness of psychedelics as a treatment. And yet psychedelics remain one of the few treatments where users are directly stigmatized for their use and for their treatments. So this is kind of our effort here of decriminalizing, of creating safe and equitable access for these treatments that are so effective in some of these unseen but deeply felt afflictions that we all experience. So some of the recent studies that these plants and fungi have been used for show that, for instance, psilocybin increased abstinence in participants with alcohol dependence. 9 out of 15 smokers in a study who received psilocybin were still abstaining after 16 months after their submitting. How many of you have tried to quit smoking, drinking, anything, right? It's a bitch. Oops, sorry. So it really plagues us, and this is medicine that can help. So the decriminalization effort is to make these medicines safe and accessible without it being a crime. So thank you all for your participation here, for showing up, for showing your support, and being a part of this movement, kind of bringing it back into media. Our ancestors, our indigenous elders have known this and have used these medicines for thousands of years, and only now is Western medicine turning its lens, its gaze there. So this is important that we protect this, that we advocate it, and that we make it possible for everyone. So I think that's all. Thank you all.
Here in Washtenaw County, Ellie Savitt is the elected prosecuting attorney. He's a former civil rights and public interest attorney, a law clerk for the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Mr. Savitt also put in place a number of new policies since taking office that prioritize harm reduction and turn the page on the war on drugs. Let's close the book on the war. Shortly after he was elected, Washtenaw County Prosecutor's Office became the first county in the country to decriminalize entheogenic plants and fungi in January of 2021. Please give a big round of applause for our County Prosecutor, Ellie Savitt.
Thank you. Well, thank you, and it's a great day to be back at Entheofest. So, let me tell you this. We're here to celebrate the anniversary of when Ann Arbor made the prosecution and the expenditure of law enforcement resources of entheogenic plants its absolute lowest priority. And when they did that, and great credit to the Ann Arbor City Council, when they did that, I had just gotten elected, and I was preparing to take office. And there were a number of really weighty, tough decisions that we had to make about how we were going to run our office. I'm here to tell you this. Not prosecuting the use or possession of entheogenic plants was not a tough call. And that's true for a couple of reasons. Number one, how arbitrary would it be for plants to be functionally decriminalized in the city of Ann Arbor, but us to turn around and prosecute people for them if they happen to be on the other side of US 23? But the other thing we did, and this is something that may seem a little bit odd for government sometimes, we actually looked at the research and we looked at the science, and the wisdom of this became absolutely crystal clear. Because what we know, entheogenic plants are not addictive, they are not associated with violent behavior, they have therapeutic effects. In fact, if you read the studies, which I encourage policymakers to do, they're associated, in many cases, with a decrease in violent behavior. So why on earth would we be prosecuting people, potentially sending people to jail for exercising their personal freedom to use entheogenic plants in a safe way, in a therapeutic way, in a religious way, when we know it does not cause any harm whatsoever? So, we don't prosecute that. We haven't prosecuted that. We're not going to start prosecuting that. But I mentioned that arbitrariness that first struck me, about how arbitrary it would be if we continued to prosecute in Ypsilanti and Pittsfield Township, but they were functionally decriminalized in Ann Arbor. You heard from Jeff Irwin, our great state senator. That arbitrariness continues to be in effect across the state of Michigan. We've made great progress in decriminalizing entheogenic plants. We don't prosecute them. Detroit just decriminalized. I know Hazel Park just decriminalized, right? We're making progress, but we still are faced with the inequity of the fact that if you're driving through certain counties, certain communities, you may be subject to prosecution, and in other parts of the state, you're not. The answer to this is quite simple. We need to continue fighting to decriminalize once and for all, statewide and then across the country. For far too long, we have been perpetuating the war on drugs to no good effect. And this is the low-hanging fruit. We should be moving quickly to stop imposing harm when people exercise their personal freedom to use natural plants in a safe way. I have heard from so many people about the benefits that they've experienced. Folks with PTSD, folks that use entheogenic plants in a religious manner. And to involve the criminal legal system in those choices is not only a waste of resources, it is flatly immoral, and we must stop it. So, as long as we're in office, you don't got to worry Washtenaw County. But I'll close by echoing what Senator Irwin said. This is a movement that is gaining steam, that is gaining momentum, that is gaining adherents every single year. When we stood here last year, entheogenic plants weren't yet decriminalized in Detroit, Michigan's biggest city, for example. So we're making progress, but it needs to be uniform. Please, do as the senator said. Contact your legislators. Share your stories. The momentum is on our side, but we've got to keep up the fight. We've got to keep up the pressure, and we cannot rest until once and for all we've turned the page on the counterproductive era of criminalization of entheogenic plants and everybody is free across Michigan. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, also from the Prosecutor's Office of Washtenaw County, we have our Chief Assistant Prosecutor, Victoria Burton-Harris, with us today. Prior to her appointment to office, Victoria spent her career working as a...
Frankie showed up. Yeah, honestly.
On my way here, I was...
Can't lie, that fucking funny comment.
Honestly, so I'm starting to come down now.
Shared the same thing with you all last year. What are you going to say this year? I said, well, I'm going to share with you the concern I have in that. You're always asking me for your things for you. You know, you speak in front of me. But that's my side. So just know I have a request for you before I leave this podium.
Think we should do it?
The concern I want to share with you.
Role in this evolution, are they not? Of course, the intelligence that created the world and which runs the whole of nature is part of this process. Because of course, we humans are not individual islands. We are part of an
Let's end the racist war on drugs and avoid irreversible mistakes. Destruction of our woodlands and our ecosystem. And remember, going through hell, keep going. Like this ocean in hieroglyphics, the questions we would put, and boldness and genius and power and magic in it. Keep on doing the right thing every day, everyone. Thank you.
Michigan Initiative for Community Healing. I want you to remember that name because today is our relaunch.
Might I ask you a couple questions? Can you tell us what this is for again?
So this is for a community art piece for to help the clients in Michigan Progressive Health feel more comfortable. I mean, a lot of them really enjoy community art. So putting this piece together, it provides them kind of some enjoyment during treatment.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
So, Michigan's are going to decriminalize. We're going to totally remove various session. That's what Dan said. Paraphernalia is so fucking beautiful. If you're carrying this through, because you have to be an open drug use, you can have the accessibility of possessing this through. Because you know what happens when you share another bill or share a spoon? That's beautiful.